Well, hey, everybody. We are here again for our viewer video question and answer series. And I still don't think I say those words in the right order. I need to write it out and tape it to my computer so I get them in the right order. But we're here with Trevor, and he's out in Massachusetts. And
Hello, guys.
we're both having our iced coffees. It's iced coffee time. So yours is a Starbucks, too, if you want to.
No.
It looked like a Starbucks cup.
Well, I made it with instant coffee and stuff like that, so I make my own. Oh, I have something funny I need to tell you. In high school, I would buy Gatorade everything for color, and I would have a Starbucks cup, and I would say, "Oh, this is a new drink."
Oh
And
my gosh!
people would go get it. They would, and they come back to me and say, "You lied to me." I said,
You like, oh my gosh! Well, it kind of looks like those tea, like almost bombs. The who is that? What's that? Herbalife, like the
"Yeah."
Herbalife shops that pop up. Those tea bombs that are all colors. That's what I'm envisioning as you're talking about. That is all the tea bombs that came out now that are so vividly colored and stuff. So
I would have people go do stuff, and I would prank them all the time.
that's funny. Well, and Trevor is a cosmetologist out in Massachusetts. So what is your first question for me?
My first question, let me pull it up on my iPad. Okay. My first question is kind of big. It's three-parter, but oh, it counts as one. All right. So as hairstylists have a paid consultation on what our clients want for their end goal. I know the funeral planning process is a consultation on what the family wants for their loved one. What are some of the most fun, creative, and coolest funeral planning consultations you have had? And what are some of the artistic funerals you have directed? And was there one so artistic it was hard to do?
Wow. I feel like myself have not had a lot. Like where we are in the country is not as dynamic as I feel like, you get to maybe California or New York or, some of the more progressive areas. We're not as progressive here in like Southwest Michigan as you could be in other areas. But I had, just even burial at sea and some of those things, we just don't have that here. And to me, that's like mind blowing and so fascinating. So to me, that's progressive because we don't have it here. So I think it's all, what you're exposed to, because if you work in certain areas, you're going to be doing a lot of crazy stuff that maybe might be crazy to me here in Michigan, but there maybe not. I'm trying to think. Even doves at funerals and things, they're very common in certain areas, but to me, they're a once in a 30-year career type thing. So I'm trying to think. We did have a little boy, and we painted his specialty painted. Someone came in and hand painted a casket for him, and so that was pretty kind of fun to see happen and see play out. That I think it's small things. There's people who are really getting into personalizing setups now. Like I saw one the other day that a woman was a school teacher. So they kind of, instead of like when you walk in, you look right at the casket, like placing the person kind of one side, and then they set up a classroom on the other side.
Oh, that's cool.
Kind of like a blackboard and just kind of a little bit mini classroom setup, because that's where most people knew her from. Some of that stuff, though, I think, you're defining a person by one aspect of their life, just like a veteran's funeral where they really focus on the veterans aspect. They were so much more. And especially if they're a veteran that was maybe 50 years before they died. So what about the other 50 years? What about everything else they did? So I think when you personalize in some of those ways, you really focus on only one attribute of the person, whereas you could maybe touch on a few others. We had one gentleman, he worked for the electric company, and he was the pole climber. So he wore the spurs, I think that's the name, the spurs to climb the poles. And he was a farmer. And so we had hail bays and or bales of hay. And then we had his spikes. He brought in a huge stump of a electrical pole. and had that all set up around the casket. It is much more labor intensive to do those things, but they make such a big impact on people that come and people, you know, the family, and especially like when you have a lot of younger grandkids, they're going to remember that event, not just walking in, seeing flowers, seeing grandpa, going home. They're going to remember like all this other stuff that was, you know, you could touch and you could feel and you could be part of. So a lot of that is becoming more traditional. I mean, some funeral homes are specializing in these exceptional setups that they've built a certain amount of money maybe into the overhead of the funeral home. So every funeral has like $200 or some dollars built into it, that they're going to buy $200 worth of stuff. You know, like grandma loved angels. Okay, you're going to go buy $200 worth of stuff to decorate this place like angels or something. And so they're going to kind of go above and beyond and really transform everything for that one event. And I like that idea to a certain degree. I mean, I think you can go over the top where it's not even about the person, it's about all this other accoutrement sometimes. But I think if you land it right on the nose, then you can do something so magical that it's just perfect. It's, you know, it's so good. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of different things. I'm trying to think of anything else that's been super artistic. I think when you have, you know, a theater teacher and that dies and you have it in the auditorium and you can make it be like this literally artistic because you're having it in the theater.
Basic.
Yeah. And that's really fun and cool to be able to do. And I know using the word fun in funeral is, I don't know, maybe tacky for some people, but to have an event where you can walk away and have somebody really feel the person's who they were and their, you know, everything. And like, that's fun for us as a funeral director to get to do that. Like a person has died. We can't change that. But what we can do is do something outside our norm. Like that's exciting for us too, sometimes to do outside the norm. It might mean more work. And some days you don't, you know, we all have those days where we just want to.
And I have a feeling it takes the sting away from the death that happened.
Well, I think it gives it a new, you're not walking in this just moment of a death. You're walking through this moment of reliving this life. It doesn't have to be a celebration of life. Like that term to me is, I don't know, so cliche at this point because you can't celebrate the life and forget there was a death. Like you can't, like, I feel like you're trying to mask what has happened and you can't do that. But when you can, instead of just focusing on the fact that somebody's died, let's focus on all these years and who they were living to this death. And it's still about the death, but it's reliving all these things through their things and through, you know, I don't know. I think it's cathartic and it's therapeutic for the family to go back and just kind of move through those good years, especially if the end has been really hard. And if they've had a couple weeks of just sitting and waiting and sadness and going back to that place in their life that they were in this happy zone with the person, much better. So, yeah. Was that all of question one?
Yeah, it was all one. All right.
What's your number two?
Yeah. I know the embalming and restoration process is where your artistic ability really flourishes. What are some of the most artistic and most creative moments you have had in the care center, and what did you do in that moment?
I'm the least artistic person in the world, I feel like. So me being artistic is like, I've always been wanted to be one of those people that could just draw and just do something. And that's just not me. I couldn't even like sketch something that maybe looked like anything. But, you know, using wax and kind of filling in when pieces are missing, if a little piece of an ear, just to fill in a small portion or just to balance something out. Like even if someone's severely emaciated, which means They're completely dehydrated. They've lost a lot of weight those last, like even 2 weeks. It's amazing the amount of weight someone can lose when you just lose water weight and a little bit of your muscle tissue. And when someone's really just sunken and hollowed and just bringing that back. So one of my favorite things ever to do is filling out somebody's nose, because you don't realize how much weight is lost in a nose. So you can fill the whole rest of the face out, but if that nose is still like deficient from its normal size, they don't look quite right. So tissue filler is something we use. You use a syringe, you inject it, and it when it touches moisture, it turns into like this gel, and it fills, kind of like a Botox sort of effect. And so you can fill, like if this is sunken, you would go in and kind of fan around and be just slowly injecting. And then from the outside, you press and smooth, and you just take the edge off that bony skeleton looking structure that an emaciated person who's been sick for a while looks like. You don't want to go overboard, because that is very easy to do. Like, people have wrinkles, people are not perfectly formed ever. But the nose is one place people don't fill a lot. And it's my favorite because it makes such a big difference. And you just put a little fluid right in the tip of the nose, and it just, watching it go whoop and like plump up is just the coolest. And like filling the bridge right here, you just have to go up it right along the bone, and you just put just a little fluid, and it goes whoop, and it just plumps. And it's the coolest thing to see happen, because it makes such a, or even filling just right here. I don't know, it's the coolest thing to do. So that's always fun to me.
So you're basically saying people in death have to have plastic surgery.
It's a little bit, yeah. It's just restoring. I mean, you're restoring that little layer of fat that's gone, that little layer of fascia that used to be plump and is now just void of that moisture and everything, because of how they've, depleted over the last weeks or months. So that is probably one of the most coolest things to be able to do, is do that. And then, anytime someone's got maybe a bullet hole or something, or trauma to their head, and you use wax and you do a hair restoration where you maybe move hair from the back to the front, or you do something like that, and you can kind of completely cover what was going on. It's always like, whoa, that can be done. It's fun to watch. Some of the advanced restorations I've seen people do, and there's like literally a mangled pile of what used to be a head, and then 36 hours later, there's a head, and it resembles a person, and it's the most magical thing that can happen. And that's some of the things I would love to be able to show in videos. It's just I'm not able to yet. So I'm working. At some point, there's going to be some legality thing where I can do it. I haven't figured it out yet, but so many cool things that can be done. So, yeah.
All right. Question number 3. For someone like me who wants to be a part of the funeral industry, what do you recommend us to do? Because we have already studied college level anatomy, biology, microbiology, accounting, and small business management, and English. Should someone like me be able to slide right on into a 2 to 4 year program with an easy transition?
A lot of those base level classes are the prerequisites you need to start into mortuary. So the best thing to do is kind of figure out what maybe mortuary school you want to go to, and call them and say, can you tell me what would transfer over? And they will let you know what you might still need. You also have to look at what your state requires, because your state may require so many credits in different items as well. Once you're done with mortuary school, you should have those all completed by the mortuary classes. But you just want to make sure you're covering both. I had to do so much public speaking class in order to get, my license in Michigan. And so just making sure you've hit on all those. But I would just call a school. Mortuary schools are typically like a 1-year program if you have all your prereqs. So, just call and see what transfers over. If you want to do an online, you can do, definitely there's longer ones and such. But they're going to be able to tell you the easiest because every state is going to have different requirements for their college. So that really is, but it's great. You really have that nice spread out variety of classes for your baseline to go to school.
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
All right, I got a bonus question.
Okay.
So have you gotten pranked by any of your coworkers, and how did they prank you, and are they still living?
I'm trying to think pranked. How would anybody... I'm trying to think of all the different funeral homes I've helped at and who, like, how they would have...
Or in school, were you pranked in school?
I don't think I was. I don't think I was. I feel like along the way, someone's said, hey, that casket fell or something. And, I've reacted and it fell in the other room. Like, you need to come here. I'm trying to think who did that to me though. And then it was fine. Nothing had happened. But I don't remember anybody really doing.
So you're saying you took care of them?
No. No. We have a lot of fun together when I work with, different teams I work with. I've always had so much fun with them. And there's people like you say that and they look at you like you're horrible. But when you're not doing, like if you're at work, like anybody in any career, and you're with your client or you're doing your job, you're on your phone, you're doing, you're in a phone meeting or something, you're being professional. And you're doing what you're supposed to do. But when you go back to your desk or that phone call's over and you're talking to coworkers and you're hanging out or you're having lunch, can everybody seriously tell me they're not laughing or they're not sharing stories, they're not joking about something? It's a normal workplace. At the end of the day, it's just a workplace. There's people there who are doing accounting and who are, just doing inventory, and they're not, dealing with death or the deceased every day, all day. There's all this other component that I think people don't realize exists. Like the amount of time maybe in a day that we spend with a family or with the deceased may not be much some days. I may not talk to a single family all day one day if I'm, doing other stuff or working on the business side of it, or if we have no calls going. So I'm not going to sit somber in a chair because it's a funeral home and because people are sad there. Like, it's not my loss. I'm there working, and and I don't think it's really hard to get the mindset when you have never been to a place that it wasn't painful for you to go to yourself, I think, or sad for you to go to yourself. So it's kind of hard, but that's my best analogy is, do you laugh at your workplace? Okay, well, I laugh at mine sometimes. So it's just what it is. Not sometimes. Every day I go there, I'm laughing at something,
And I think if you're not laughing, you're not living.
No, you can't take everything about life so serious.
No.
And especially I think when we work with such a heavy subject, we have to find levity. We have to have levity. We have to order cat poop coffee and give it a try because why not? Or we have to, just do goofy things, and not at the expense of families or the deceased. It's just us, doing something in between work and in between what we have to do. So I think it's fine. So
thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was good to get to meet you.
Yes.
I keep saying meet people in person, even though this isn't, but getting to face to face, I know, hey, what's up? Hey, hi. Fist bump or, I think it's good. I like to connect with people. So one at a time, I'm going to get to know, 50 some new people through doing this, at least a little more, which is
hurting from traveling so much from
I know, all over. Well, today I made 2 connections of places to go coming up here. So I'm like, all right, I want to start traveling. Like by now I've usually gone some places to do a little bit bigger videos for you guys. And so I want to start doing that now that we have a little, you know, it's a little looser in restrictions and stuff, you know, but not go too crazy. So
Yeah.
I get some things on the schedule and see what I can do. I've got a couple of casket companies to go to.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's one area we really haven't
Oh,
do. And I really want to dive into that a little bit more, is to go watch some caskets being made and see some different processes along the way with that. So I'm going to try and get some more for you guys. So
watching for a long time.
thank you.
My fiance will catch me at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Go to sleep. I'm not that interesting.
Yes, you are. It's like that tour of the crematory. It's like, yes, the head goes here. Yes, the head goes here. I find that kind of commentary funny.
It's so funny because some people, you know, it's interesting what people like and what people don't like, and what they're critical on, what they're not critical on. And I don't know. I'm just being me. And I think that's what resonates with some people, is I just try to tell the truth. I try to answer what everybody wants to hear on, you know, the topics and things that interest me. And I think you can tell when I get more excited and more interested in what I'm talking about, you know, like vehicles. I'm not a car person per se. I think like Hearst Fest is fun because of the people and everything. I'm not a car person, really. I don't know the history of everything. I will try and learn, but it's not an area that I get really excited about. So, you know, I'll learn, but I'm not going to be like doing cartwheels probably in any of my vehicle videos. So, you know, that's just who I am. But there's things that do get me super amped up, and going and visiting students and going and visiting some of these places. Definitely.
One of the things I've seen you do is getting those union halls. The big. I was like, and I saw the expression on your face is like, am I really doing this?
It was a fun day. I was like, I don't think there's any other way to show these except to really get in them. So here we are. So it is what it is. But, well, thank you, Trevor. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody watching and sending your questions our way. So make sure to subscribe so you get notified of the next videos coming up. And if you have any questions you want answered, post them below or shoot me some emails. I'll see you guys later. Bye.